Hey, how's it going? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. I wanted to make this video because I've been getting a lot of emails. There's a lot of people still who still find themselves in the situation with dealing with Santander. And Santander had a multi-state lawsuit settlement agreement with 34 states, I believe, where they had forgiven the deficiency of repossession. If your car was repoed and you had that balance afterwards, they were supposed to forgive that. They were supposed to give you a check. It could be somewhere around $244, somewhere around that. At least they said it could be more. Um, Also, take all of the information, negative information off your credit report. They're supposed to do that. What I'm finding is that there's a lot of people who have had their debt sold to debt collectors, and these debt collectors did not notify them that they don't even have to pay this debt. What I believe, I mean, it's only my opinion, is that the debt collectors got the debt before the settlement, and they they're stuck with it right now. They're supposed to send it back, but some of them are still trying to go after people. I just had a call today, and I'm going to tell you what you need to do if you have a Santander debt. But first, let's go with the states. Let's look at the states. Let's see here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's how I feel about the
Okay, here we
NYPD.
go
You know how
with
to
the
catch
states.
me
Where are we at?
defending the
Where are we at? I'm
NYPD
on the website here.
and
They
assume
had
that
34. Here
everything
we
was
go.
done
Here
by
go
the
the states.
letter
So
and that it
these are the
was
states that were included
colorblind. I say in
right
quotes.
here.
Give me a
These are the
break.
states that were
Like,
included.
it's so
If you were
interesting
in
to me how
one of
people
these
say
states, it
Black
does
Lives
not
Matter to
matter
defund the police, and in the
if
same
you
breath be like,
did not
well, just
fill out a
saying.
postcard or
Like, they have
respond
to
to a
make a
letter. Like
decision.
the person that I spoke to on the phone
Like,
today,
now all of a
they
sudden you
thought
trust
because
that
they
the
didn't
the
respond
CPD
that they were
did
not
the right
included.
thing.
No,
Okay.
it's opposite. When the way these
Okay.
companies do it, because it would be, it would just be too much
But
paperwork to
Bill
do it
Cosby was
the
trying to buy
opposite way,
NBC.
which would
Leave us
be
alone.
the logical way.
Leave us alone.
If you want to
Leave us
sue
alone.
someone on my behalf in a
Leave us alone.
class action, I'm supposed to notify you that I want you to do it. No, it's actually the opposite. If you don't want to be included, they give you a certain period of time to opt out of it because they know that it's going to be flip flop. More people are not going to opt out than people who want to just stay in there, or people who just don't do nothing and respond. This is what happened with this individual. They know that they got the card, but they were going through the postcard saying that, something about the multi-state settlement. They really didn't pay too much attention to it because she said that her husband was going through very bad medical issues, that he almost lost his life. Things were just tough. So people don't, when it comes to this, they
Hi, great.
disregard
Love
certain
the
things when
show.
it comes
Can you
to,
hear me? Okay.
getting a letter in the
Hello.
mail about a
Yes.
car that was repossessed.
Okay, great. So love the
So
show. Listen to you and
when we
have all the
looked at it,
feedback off of some of the callers
it
in the
was
last call was
repossessed
talking about
at during this
TikToks.
period of
I didn't
time.
hear everything she said,
They
but
meet
it's
the
totally different.
criteria
I love the
for when
perspective that
the
you're giving.
vehicle, number
It's
one,
very
when they
fresh,
had the
very
loan, and number
positive.
two,
You're not trying to make
within the
judgments.
12 months
But
after they got the
everything
loan.
these people from Chicago
They
are
met
saying,
all of
especially the
that.
one in
So
Dana, like
they
that
did
right
get a
there is
postcard, but they
very
never
key.
did do
But
anything about
people
it.
that
And
did
the reason why they had the
really wasn't
postcard is
about
there was a
the big
code on there, and
picture.
you were supposed to
Your
go
girl,
to
Anisha
the
Cross, kind of
settlement
said something,
administrator's
yeah, about
website, punch in that
like that.
information
That's
so they would
really what this
send
is
the
about.
payment to the right
I
person and
mean, you can
address.
sit
They
here
didn't
and
just
say,
want to
well,
just send payments
people are
out
being
to the
judgmental and
wrong
blah blah
addresses. You
blah.
could
I
have
mean, my
moved.
opinion, and I'm not
So
gonna
what
you know
happened
give
with
you all the
this
evidence,
person
is
or
that
this
it was a
couple
lie.
is that the car
Plain
was
and
sold.
simple. It was,
A debt collector has
all
the
came out
debt.
in the
They're trying to
media,
come
so
after
all of it
them for a
sounded
little
like
over
BS and lies.
$5,000.
That's not my
And
problem.
what
So
I told
I
them to
don't have a
do
problem with him
is
lying
to
or
simply,
whatever.
and they're
I
trying to
just
sue
don't
them.
like him as a
So what I told
character.
them to
I'm
do
not
is to
trying
simply
to
write a
do
letter
anything against his
stating
character,
that they were
but
included
this
in the
kind of was
settlement.
taken care of. But it's
But
really
because
about
they are
so
being
much
sued,
vendetta
they need to do that
about
within a
right.
summons response. You can't just send the letter. You could send it, but it would be better to do it in a response. So you would respond to each allegation, and then you would, when it got to the point
No,
about the
that's it.
money that you owe,
Really love your
you would
show. I
say,
appreciate your
I'm
perspective, and I
included in the
completely
Santander
agree. It's just
multi-state
black or
settlement.
white. He's
I
guilty. It was a
meet the
lie,
criteria. I
and I don't have a
received a
problem with that.
postcard.
Whatever.
I was
Okay, a
going
lie.
through,
Whatever. We've done with it.
my
But it's
family was
really
going through some
about
medical
TikToks.
issues
So
at
that's
that
all I want
time,
to
and we
say. So
just
hopefully,
didn't pay
maybe
attention.
whenever
But
she's
we
on
know
again, she
we
I
did
learn
receive
about
that
that.
postcard.
Love the
You would get
show,
a
love
copy of that
America.
to
You
the
guys have a
debt
great
collection
weekend.
company, and then
Thank
you would get a
you.
copy of that response, send it to the court, so you're doing everything the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And that will make that go away. So if you find yourself in a similar situation,
And now
that's what you need to do. Now, I'm going to tell you what you do if you're outside of this and they have taken the
yes,
car.
definitely.
With the settlement, these were the reasons. Let me get to it. This is the company, the administrator. This is the administrator right here. That's and this is the number that you would call to see if you're in there. This is Santander. If you didn't qualify, but they maybe have sold your loan, this is the number that you would call. Now, let's get into what they are saying, what they said Santander actually did, like why this whole thing happened. Okay, here we go. So going forward, Santander cannot extend financing if the consumer has a negative residual income after taking into consideration a list of actual monthly debt obligations. Right here. So you, even though you got approved for the loan, the your application could have been manipulated. That's what they found. This is not my words. This is what the settlement with the attorney generals. This is what they had found with the car dealers that were submitting applications, that they were actually manipulating them, changing them so people can get qualified, so they can sell the car. That's why they wanted to do it. They wasn't even telling people the truth about the interest rates. Some of the people, when you added up how long it was going to take you to pay off the car and the amount that they had and the interest rate that they were
Not
charging you,
surprising.
you would never be able to pay off
Unfortunately.
the car. Some people had paid for 5 years and then they still owed like $25,000 on
I
the
wouldn't
car
be
that they
surprised.
bought for $30,000. This is what had happened. So if you have a debt collector that purchased a debt, or Santander is trying to come after you for it, you need to use what they did
Hmm.
wrong against them in your favor. They will they will most likely either do a very favorable settlement if you still had a car, and if you don't have a car, they will probably just say they're going to forgive the debt. Now, right here, Santander is barred from requiring dealers to sell ancillary products such as vehicle service contracts. Santander will also implement steps to monitor dealers who engage
Today.
in income
Um,
fluctuation,
I'm
inflation,
great too. I
expense,
just wanted to
inf-
say that actually the whole thing with
inflation,
Jussie Smollett,
expense,
I'm really
deflation,
feeling
really.
kind of
Power
petty.
booking, this is
And
where
at the
they
same
add,
time, with
say the
all the
things on
crap
the
we have
vehicle that are
going
not
on,
really
all the
on the vehicle
seriousness with
that
the
happen with people,
January 6th
or they,
thing,
you
just
know,
everything that's
inflated
going on. So
things
just to
like
take
they gave
time
you
to
some new
properly
tires and said those tires were
understand
like
whether it
five
was a
thousand
made
dollar
up
tires or
story or
five
not.
thousand
He
dollar
was the
rims.
only one who got hurt in the process.
Santander
No
will
one else
enact
was hurt.
additional
No one else was
documentation
dragged into it.
requirements
No
for
one else had
those
a noose around her
dealers.
neck. No one else
So
had anything.
even with this,
If
you
something,
probably
if he did
fall
do
within
something,
here. If you felt like any of
then
this
maybe
happened
he
to you,
needs to see a
then you could
psychiatrist. Maybe
still
that's what
have
they may have talked
reason
about
to
during
file
the
a
case.
complaint,
But as
and
far
then
as
you would send
charging
that
him
complaint
with all
to
of this,
that
I
debt
think
collector,
it's
send
a
that
waste of
complaint
time, a
to
waste of taxpayers'
Santander
money.
to
You're
try
talking about
to
him
get
owing money and
that
making them do
collection
some
account
work because
taken away.
they don't do
Also,
the
you can
real
use the
work. They're
same
busy with
strategy
people who
to
don't.
get
They
them
really
to
should
do a
just leave
settlement.
alone.
We've had people,
And so
customers,
how much
and
money
people
is
who
they
watch
spend
my
going to
video
trial?
right here on
Okay, you
YouTube
should put
that
that
got
money and put it in
very
your pocket if you're so
favorable
worried about
settlements.
making somebody pay.
$1,300
And
on
when will
$13,000,
these
$5,000 on
crazy days even
$20,000.
go to
Um,
because we made you
it
do
can
some
happen.
work?
It
Now you're
takes
gonna
work.
charge
You're
me
going to have
because
to put
you
in
had to do some
some footwork to
investigating,
get
dip
this
up your
done.
butt, not
They're
eat a
not going to
donut
just
or
quit
whatever
just
the
because you
case may
send
be.
one letter.
That's just
You need to
crazy. I
send
just
everything
really enjoyed
certified.
this, but I mean they
If
should have
you're in
left
court, you
alone.
need to make sure
They
that the
made this
judge
thing what it
is
was by
aware
making a
of
big
this
old
settlement
catastrophe
so
out
they
of
can at
it.
least
And it was just
do some
okay. He
research
did
to
it. If he
see
did it, he
if
did it. If he
potentially
didn't,
you would
he
fall
didn't.
into
So what?
these
Go on. Let's move
categories,
on to
or
something more
what you can
important.
do to potentially get someone to represent you legally to get this to get something held up if you're not in one of the states. If you were in one of the states and you do fall within that criteria, there should be no problem if you just follow the steps that I gave you in this video. So please, if you find yourself with a Santander auto loan and and it was repossessed, Uh, the Santander multi-state settlement, they set aside that money for relief. You could either get your vehicle, the vehicle and the title. If you still had a vehicle, if you the vehicle was repossessed, you can get the the deficiency balance forgiven, and a small check and all the information removed off your credit reports. And if you get to keep your car, you do get that information removed off of your credit report. So I think that's all I got for you right now. If you need help with your credit, please make sure to visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What
The
Makes Us Different.
audacity.
That's where I display how we repair credit. And if you need your credit reports and
They know
scores,
their
that's very
approach, but they
important,
always have the
especially if you're dealing with
audacity.
Santander and they've sold it to a debt collector, and also just for anything that's on your reports. Please visit www.your3scores.com. Links are below this video. We have a different services that we offer. We can write your response if you need someone to write it. Um, I have a do-it-yourself where you can learn to do it yourself. I have my 3 pack of letters to stop debt collectors. Link is below this video. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, President and Founder of the CreditRepairShop.com.